Located in the east side of downtown San Antonio, there is an abundance of old cemeteries. However, there is one family cemetery that stands out when you drive down this street here, and that is the Dullnig Family Cemetery. Now, when you walk right in, you're greeted with graffiti and crumbling walls throughout the perimeter of the cemetery. Now, the grave we're going to look at is the grave of George and Frances Dullnig. Now, George Dullnig played a significant part of San Antonio in the mid to late 1800s. He was a businessman, and he had a grocery and dry goods emporium that occupied the now current Dullnig building, which is located on the corner of Commerce and Alamo Street in downtown San Antonio. And I will post a picture of the building. And if you're from San Antonio, this building now occupies a McDonald's that's on the first floor of this building. Here he is buried next to his wife, Frances. Here next to George and Frances's tombstone is the tombstone of Amanda Brunn. It says, born October 19th, 1855 and died on June 27th, 1877. Here we have Emily Dullnig. Now, right over here, I want to say this is like the Veterans Cemetery, kind of like Fort Sam. And then right over here, next to this family plot, I want to say it's the St. John's Cemetery. It's really weird. You know, the cemeteries on this side of town just goes on and on for a good maybe 8 to 10 blocks, and they're all numbered off: City Cemetery number 1, number 2, and so on. And then you have also the St. Mary's Cemetery, as well as the Alamo Masonic Cemetery, and so on. So there are many cemeteries that are just next to each other here on the east side of San Antonio. So let's continue our investigation through this family cemetery. So starting over here, we have a George C. Adams and a John R. Hildreth. Here we have Nettie C. Hildreth, 1961. That's somewhat, so far, the current burial that I've seen here. Now you could see here that the wall is just crumbling down, and we have a base here with a broken tombstone here. And this can't be weathering, this has to be vandalism. And I can't believe that whoever did this got away with it. Here we have an Elizabeth Dullnig. Moving on from the first row, we have what looks like to be the Brunn family. Now, there was a San Antonio Express News article about this cemetery. I think it was sometime last year they posted an article talking about the disrepair of the cemetery, and that the city has tried their best to, you know, fix up this cemetery, but honestly, it doesn't belong to them, and at this time, there is no clear owner of the cemetery. There is, however, a relative of George Dullnig, and I'm sure, just like me, he's very upset with how his family's or his ancestors' cemetery is being kept up. Here we are back to the Dullnig family. So we have two young children here that are buried together. Here we have an infant. Moving on to the third row here, we have yet again another base with no tombstone on top. Here we have a Hans Brunn, very weathered, so you can't really make out what it says exactly. Here is Dora the Brunn. Hey everyone, just a quick note here. The Brunn family is related to John's wife, Sophie Brunn Dullnig. Okay, back to the video. Here we have another Dullnig. And also Henrietta's family, the Bond family, is buried at this cemetery. Moving on to the last row here, we have one more Dullnig, it seems like. Henrietta Dullnig. And then we have a few graves with the last name Reagan. And here I am once again to explain the following graves. So Thomas Reagan married Emma Dullnig Reagan, who was the daughter of Andrew and Henrietta Dullnig. And you can see here that she died in 1933. Now, according to Find a Grave, Thomas Reagan remarried to Elizabeth Dullnig, who is Emma's sister. And buried next to her is her sister, or Andrew and Henrietta's daughter, Caroline Dullnig. Here we have an infant grave. And I honestly can't make out what it says. It could be another Dullnig family member. And here is, interesting, it says Amanda Dullnig, so born in 1875 and died in 1877. If you could see that. And according to Find a Grave, it says that there is in total 34 graves, but who knows if there are many more graves that are just possibly missing a grave marker. And that concludes our tour of the Dullnig family cemetery. This video was meant to bring awareness to this small little family cemetery located in the heart of downtown San Antonio, Texas. And I thank you all for watching.